Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And he gets his guys to play hard and get very well organized. And, the game up there last year, we just didn't play well.
You got 18 hard games. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Just go win the next one on the schedule. Don't, if you sit around and you say, oh, we're 2-5, oh my God. Well, that's like that little kid that takes the ball and goes home.
Couple of basketball voices for you on a Friday night. Brad Brownell and the Clemson Tigers off to Pittsburgh to take on the Pitt Panthers, and Frank Martin and his Gamecocks heading out to Oxford, Mississippi to take on Ole Miss. Both the Tigers and Gamecocks searching for their first conference wins of the season. Clemson trying to avoid going 0-3 in ACC play for the first time in about 15 years, and USC trying to avoid going 0-2. Kevin McCrary with you alongside the Professor Tom Hayes. No Phil Kornblut tonight. The Corn took the night off. I think he had a really bad day on the golf course. He sounded downtrodden when I talked to him about an hour or so ago. He was just coming off the course, and he really sounded beat up.
Well, I told him don't play golf in the winter time, in the cold weather. Your muscles aren't loose. You try to stretch out those old creaky elbows.
Pro, I got to tell you, it wouldn't have mattered. It doesn't matter what the temperature is for Corn. He's going to struggle on the golf course. But we will press on without him here. Hope you've had a great Friday. Welcome to the weekend. We're going to get you started right with what we think is going to be an outstanding show for you. Lots of good stuff coming up. We have some news to pass along. It was actually a pretty newsy day, so we'll pass along some news as we move throughout the program. We've lined up a few guests that we're excited to talk to and listen to. Brad Brownell, we'll hear more from him coming up later in the program. Previewed the matchup against Pitt before they jumped on the airplane out of Clemson. And we'll hear from USC women's basketball coach Dawn Staley. She has one of the hottest basketball teams in the country, undefeated, scored 100 points for the first time since they joined the SEC. They scored 100 or more points in a matchup against an SEC opponent. They did that against Alabama last night. On the road, too. And they'll take on Kentucky Sunday at Colonial Life Arena. That's a top 10 matchup. They had 16,000 last Friday night at Colonial Life Arena for Auburn, and Auburn was not ranked. There could be a huge crowd there. In fact, that they've done something, that Dawn Staley has done something when USC is putting out a release asking media to let fans know that parking is free at all the surface lots. Get there early. I guess some traffic issue. There was actually traffic issues going to Colonial Life Arena last Friday night, people trying to get to that women's game. So they're trying to alleviate some of that, opening up some other lots. They're doing some construction in that area. So a couple of those streets, Divine Street, will be closed down. So that kind of makes it a little tricky. Yeah, there's traffic going to basketball games at Colonial Life Arena this season. I hit some going to Oklahoma State. Granted, there was a Christmas parade, high school football championships, and all this other stuff. But people are showing up at basketball games again.
If the product is good on the basketball court, they will show up.
We'll jump into it coming up after the break. It's Sports Talk on a Friday night here, South Carolina Radio Network. Kevin McCrary and the Professor Tom Hayes. Do you want to be a part of the show? Have something you want to get off your chest before the weekend? Reach out, pick up the phone, grab a line, 800-956-7266, toll-free number for you. You can also interact with us on Twitter. Join the tens of thousands now that are following us on Twitter at Sports Talk SC. Interact with us in 140 characters or less. Or you can even go to the Facebook page and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Sports Talk Radio Network, and the email address, talkback@sportstalksc.com, website, sportstalksc.com. And you can go to our website. There's a link to watch us live and in color at our video stream on the bottom of the page. You can listen to the show, a link there at the top right, and you can vote in what is now the most, well, I say controversial poll question of all time. Who is the state player of the year? We have had thousands of people vote in this poll. The voting will close at the end of the weekend on the state player of the year. It has turned into a two-horse race between Pharaoh Cooper and Vic Beasley, and there are fans now on the message boards, TigerNet. I think there's some Gamecock fan websites that have caught on to this, and they are going back and forth. This is a tightly monitored race, and right now Pharaoh Cooper has 1,527 votes to Vic Beasley's 1,450. So Cooper has pulled ahead. It has been back and forth all day, and I'm sure the Clemson people will jump on that now and see if they can get Beasley back to the front on who the state player of the year is. You can do that voting at sportstalksc.com. You can only vote once, but a lot of people are voting. And, either one of those guys would be a very worthy recipient of the Sports Talk State Player of the Year award, which entails getting absolutely nothing but the honor and the pride of saying that you were Sports Talk's Player of the Year, and elected by the Sports Talk listeners.
Yeah, it's interesting. I still am kind of floored by the lack of votes for Deshaun Watson, because people say, well, he was injured. But how much of an effect did he have psychologically on that Clemson football team as soon as he set foot on the
He was big, but they went out and won a bowl game without him. Exactly. And showed that, they can do it without him. He's picked up 8% of the votes right now. Dylan Thompson with just about 0.5%. And then Quinn Backus from Coastal Carolina, Alex Ross, both picking up a few votes, and a smattering of others. But Pharaoh Cooper at 46%, just ahead of Vic Beasley at 44%, are very unscientific poll there at sportstalksc.com.
Yeah, I bet you the thing came back, Clemson's defense without Vic Beasley, maybe not as salty, but still one of the best in the country. I mean, if Pharaoh Cooper is not on South Carolina's team, they're probably 3-8 or something.
Yeah, because you lose your best wide receiver, you lose your punt man, you lose a guy that runs Wildcat for you at quarterback. Mm-hmm. He does so many different things. Certainly the best all-around player. But Vic Beasley, despite the fact everybody had him circled on their scouting report, still managed to have double-digit sacks, set the all-time sack record at Clemson, led the country and tackles for a loss, and he just did so many things. So it's back and forth. We'll see how it comes out by the end of the weekend. A few other notes, and we'll jump to your phone calls. Hang tight. A couple of open lines, too. We will take phone calls, and I suggest you get on board early before we get into our other things. Recruiting coming up. I mentioned Brad Brownell, Dawn Staley. Lee Klein we'll talk to in the next hour. A lot of basketball talk tonight on Sports Talk. With that in mind, though, I'm going to lead with a football story. Dabo Swinney has announced contract extensions for all of his assistant coaches today. The big winner, no surprise here, Brent Venables, as expected, got that big contract extension, a 4-year contract extension that will keep him under contract at Clemson through 2018. So 4-year contract for Brent Venables. And again, a smart move. If you're Dabo Swinney and you're Clemson, make sure that if Brent Venables leaves, it's for nothing else other than a head coaching position. He's not going to leave to be a defensive coordinator at another school, a high-profile school. Isn't going to come calling and snatch a guy away from Clemson. Clemson is making sure its assistants and its coordinator specifically stay put.
And a smart move by Brent Venables, because he's seen the Wolves go after Lorenzo Ward when you lose a bunch of players and your defense goes down. Clemson fans, well, where's the defense? Well, I got a contract now. So it's the closest thing to tenure an assistant football coach is going to get is a multi-year contract.
Now back over to basketball. How about this story? Longtime ACC official Carl Hess fired today by the ACC. Made a derogatory comment to a Wake Forest fan Sunday night. Hess, he's no stranger to controversy. I think he threw Tom Gugliotta out of NC State game when he was just sitting 2 rows back. Not when he was playing at NC State, when he was just watching an NC State game. He's worked in 6 Final Fours and 9 ACC titles. And if what the fan alleges he said is true, and he must have admitted to it or not denied it because he is getting fired, he probably deserved it. So, officials interacting with fans, never a good thing. Carl Hess was never afraid to interact with people, and it caught up to him. I don't think there are a lot of sad people in the ACC land today with Carl Hess leaving. He's one of those guys, for better or for worse. The game often became about Carl Hess. Teddy Valentine was doing the game Wednesday night in Columbia, and he's another one of those guys that he likes to make sure that he's a part of that game, making a call. And I enjoy watching Teddy Valentine do what he does, but I mean, guys like that have targets on them.
Oh yeah, and let's face it, as the story goes, he was much more than a fan. He was also former head of the Wake Forest Board of Trustees.
Yeah.
And so that's what really
and
got
he
him.
Called this guy who's of Indian descent. He said, I'd like to see you're Egyptian, but call a game. And it's okay, you're an idiot. Why do that? If he could have said that without it. If he didn't pull the Egyptian part out, he's okay. I'd like to see you come in here. I'd like to sit there and watch you officiate a game. But no, he had to pull the Egyptian part out. You're not going to get away with that in 2014 for sure. Move on to the phones. We'll drop other news notes as we move throughout the program. We're going to head out to Aiken for our first call. Mike is on the line. Hello, Mike.
Hello, man. Listen, we got a chance for the first time ever for something to happen with these playoffs, these NFL playoffs. If the teams win, and I think they're going to win, first time ever, you're going to have every quarterback in the AFC and the NFC championship game that's got a ring. All right, because it doesn't matter New England or the Ravens, because both those guys got rings. Right. I think New England is going to take them. Then if old Huckleberry Hound there can get done in Denver, and I think they can, because Andy's not that good of a team, then he's got a ring. He's in the AFC championship game. You go to I got my man in Seattle getting it done. He's got a ring. Now, the wild card is the Dallas-Green Bay game, especially with Rodgers being hurt. Watch Romo screw this up for me, because I got some money on this. But it's never happened before.
What's the line in that game?
Never. Green Bay's up by 6, which I think is way too much.
Yeah, especially with Rodgers dinged.
Yeah, I mean, but Dallas doesn't have that great of a pass rush in defense. So I think he's going to step up and get it done. But that's a lot of points, because, I got Dallas putting some points on Green Bay's defense, too, even though they've been playing better since they moved, the guy, the middle linebacker, the one with the locks, the blonde-haired guy.
Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews. Yeah, I'm bad with names. So, but I think it's going to be some great games, but it's never happened. The closest it ever happened was 83 in the AFC and NFC championship games, where we had every quarterback that has a ring. And this could be the first time it ever happens. That'd be something good to watch.
I will say this. For Dallas to be successful in this playoff, they have to go back to the future. What do I mean by that? Well, there was a time in football they used to hand it off instead of throwing it. If Murray has a tremendous game, you're doing two things. You're grinding clock so Aaron Rodgers can't get the football, and hopefully you're getting in the red zone and scoring touchdowns. If you can do that, the running game will be key to Dallas, not Tony Romo is who he's handing the ball off to.
And making sure Aaron Rodgers finishes that game. If Matt Flynn has to come in, that ain't going to be good for Green Bay. Appreciate the call. Good stuff there. Nice stat. We'll see if that happens this weekend. More phone calls coming up. Brunell will preview the Clemson-Pitt game coming up after the bottom of the hour break. Dawn Staley is going to join us at 7:14 to preview USC's matchup against Kentucky. Top 10 matchup. Their top-ranked Gamecocks taking on Kentucky at Colonial Life Arena Sunday afternoon. But before all of that, your phone calls continue. 800-956-7266. Delvin in Fountain Inn is up next. Hello, Delvin.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Well.
First of all, I wish Cone was there because my Cowboy. I want to make him feel better before my Cowboys go out there and beat him. So y'all had to console him after the game Monday. So I wish he was there so I can.
Well, you could console him on Monday. He'll be back on Monday, and you can call up and console him after the Cowboys beat the Packers at Lambeau.
Here's Delvin. Here's what you have to watch out for. If you look in the visitors box, and Chris Christie and his son is in the box. Apparently, he has now become the good luck charm of Jerry Jones because apparently the last 5 games, apparently he's been in and out of Dallas. I think Dallas has won all 5 games. So I think he wants to bring his new good luck charm, Jerry Jones, to Green Bay. I'm not sure if he's given.
Sure, that's really helping his approval ratings in New Jersey.
They announced it. He said he's going to Green Bay, so.
Of course he is. Yeah, of course he is.
Hey, did they K-Mac, did they announce how much that Brent will be making? I figured he'd be in $1 million range because I see that Jeremy Pruitt is getting paid $1.3 million. I figured that if you had a number 1 defense, you get paid more than that. Or that's not. But you say it's a contract that will only allow him to leave for a head coaching job. And what do you think about the reports that Les Miles is looking at Ron Zook and fans are getting upset about that as defense coordinator?
I haven't seen anything about Ron Zook and LSU, although that wouldn't, I think you could look and, well, I don't know, maybe worse places. I think LSU can do better than that. And by the way, the contract numbers for Venables were not released. I would be shocked if he's not making north of $1 million per season.
Yeah, I would say this, Delvin. Ron Zook, even though he leaves a lot to be desired as a head coach, good recruiter, solid, energetic recruiter, even at his age. So, and let's face it, LSU's talent level, they lose a lot of players early in the draft, a lot of redshirt sophomores and juniors. So they need a recruiter in there, K-Mac. And sometimes, you kind of sacrifice maybe a little bit of coaching if a guy can bring some bodies in there. It's a tough balance there when you're thinking about what you want.
But at the end of the day, you've got to, everybody's got players in the SEC. You've got to have good coaches. And I don't know. I mean, Ron's he's on LSU's radar now. He's with the Packers now as not even a major coach. He's almost, I think, a quality assistant special teams coach of the Green Bay Packers right now. So he's just drawing a check in Green Bay. That would be, to me, you go from Chavis to Zook. That's a downgrade if you're LSU. If you're going to let Chavis walk, you better have somebody good walking through that door.
Downgrade coaching, upgrade recruit.
Well, so they've never had a problem getting good players at LSU.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to really go much further than Baton Rouge to bring in defensive talent there. All right. Back.
year were wildly different. The big loss up there and the heartbreaking double overtime loss here. Just what do you remember about those guys last year?
Clemson heading to Pittsburgh tomorrow afternoon, the second game of 3 straight on the road for the Tigers. Again, the ACC did them no favors with their schedule. You play the games as they come. That's the way it works. They had to open at 5th-ranked Louisville, come home late, go to class, quick practice, back on an airplane to play Pitt, a noon tip tomorrow at Pitt. Clemson 8-6, 0-2 in the ACC. Pitt 11-4, 1-1 in the conference. The Tigers lost 2 to Pitt last year. They're 0-3 all time against the Panthers. Brad Brownell remembers those games against the Panthers last year well.
We're similar in styles. Both teams primarily play man-to-man, mix in a little zone. Try to take care of the ball. Jamie gets his guys to play hard and get very well organized. And the game up there last year, we just didn't play well. And and I subbed a lot of guys in the game and played a lot of different people that probably didn't get as many minutes in other games. And obviously the last game I thought we played well, and just the ending was what we didn't want.
Seems like they do a great job with second chance points, and I know that's a real.
Yeah, they're very good, attacking the boards, and they're not as big as they were last year, but they certainly make a commitment to rebounding. I think they're +5 or 6 in rebound margin, and they're just they're a team that really they play very hard, very unselfish. Just like last year, they pass it very well. They have a lot of guys with very good assist to turnover numbers. They're just a very, very good team. Just very good. Don't beat themselves. Don't make many mistakes, and certainly their arena is fantastic with a terrific crowd and atmosphere. It's a great, good place to play.
Is this pretty close to a must-win game? You guys?
I don't approach things like that. If we win it, great. We obviously want to win, but that's not going to change a lot of things. And if you lose, you're still going to have more games after that. We can't control all the outcomes. We can control our performance. I was very pleased with our performance against Louisville. We're the number 5 team in the country at their place, down 2 with 6 minutes to go after giving up a 17-0 run. So I thought we did a lot of things in that game to improve. I thought we handled the environment pretty well. Certainly we needed to make more shots to win the game, and we had a couple plays, turnovers that we'd like to have back. But I think if you ask Louisville, that they'd like to have a lot of plays back too, where we played very well. There were big stretches of that game where we controlled the game. Guys ran good offense against the zone, made good plays against the press. Our zone was effective, rebounded well. So we can control, our performance, and that's really what we're focused on, and need to have another good performance to have a chance to beat a good Pittsburgh team.
Did you see some growth in that? You punched back after you got punched with that 17 over?
Yeah, I hope so. I think getting off to a good start, team confidence, we're still a little fragile that way and need confidence in games. And when they make a run at Louisville and 22,000 people are cheering, it's a tough place. And, it took us a little longer to get our legs back under us than we would have liked. It probably cost us the game. But, we did get there. We finally made a couple shots, back-to-back threes. And then after we made those back-to-back threes and back down to 7 or 8, we really controlled, the game there for the next 6-8 minutes. I thought we played better than them. And, then it became a one-possession game with 6 minutes to go, and we just weren't good enough to finish it.
What are some of the things that you want to take from that Louisville game and try to be able to carry to Pitt?
Just being able to play through adversity under pressure and in an environment that's difficult. But you've got to be able to block those things out and just concentrate on your job. And, following a game plan better like we did in the Louisville game. I thought we followed our plan perfectly. Had a couple things that didn't go our way offensively that we needed to do better at the beginning of the second half in terms of some offensive efficiency stuff. But for the most part, we did what we wanted to do in the game and gave ourselves a chance to win in the last 5 or 6 minutes. And, when you're playing in road games against good teams in this league, that's what you're trying to do, is put yourself in a position to win a game, late in the second half. And, you've got to do a lot of really good things for 35 minutes to give yourself that chance. And we got to try to do some of those again here at Pittsburgh. Rebounding is another one.
You talked about it being a difficult place to play. I mean, record-wise, it's almost unbelievable. 138-4 in their last 142 in that building, 220 overall. I don't know that people understand how difficult it is.
Most people just don't understand how good Pitt basketball is. I mean, in a lot of ways, Pitt's another basketball school in a lot of ways. They go to the NCAA almost every year. Jamie's done a phenomenal job there. Record attendance, sold out. I don't even know what the place seats, 13,000, and they've got waiting lists for season tickets. And I mean, it's a rabid environment. Their students are right on top of you. I mean, it's one of the best kept secrets, outside of that area. People, I think, in the Northeast know about Pittsburgh basketball, and they recruit a lot of players up there and have a lot to sell, and it works for them. But I don't think people down here, and people even back where I'm from in Indiana and the Midwest, don't really understand how good a program they have, facilities they have, commitment they've made to their basketball program, and the kind of job that Jamie's done year in, year out is terrific.
Is this another one of those tough physical things?
Yeah, it is. They're, big, strong guards. They're not the tallest team by any stretch, but they're, Young is big and strong, and he's going to be a terrific player. I mean, he's already a very good player, but he's outstanding. And then they play a physical style. They bump and grind you. Coach Patino referred to a couple of us in the league like that. And that when you play some of these kind of games, the fans and everybody, even he was talking about his team, they want it to be a 75-85 game. And some teams in the league, we just don't play that way as much. And it's difficult to do. And, he referenced our game. He referenced the Georgia Tech-Syracuse game. Pittsburgh, he mentioned, as teams that, we bump and grind you more than some of the other teams in the league. And other teams run around and, they get up and down, and really it's a scoring game. And, so those are some of the similarities between the two teams. And certainly I think it speaks to their physicality.
Pitt is definitely, it seems strange to say it, an underrated team probably in terms of what they do year in and year out. I saw Jamie Dixon, who is about to coach his 400th game at Pitt Saturday. His record, 299-100. So he has a chance to win 300 of his first 400 games at Pitt. That's pretty strong. Playing in the conference that they are in now, and they were in a pretty darn strong conference before they joined the ACC as well.
It's interesting. Remember when the Northern Arizona coach took that job by the name of Ben Howland, and one of his assistants was Jamie Dixon. And then Ben Howland wanted to get back on the West Coast, and he took the UCLA job, and he did a great job there till everything fell out of place there. But this is one time when the athletic director really listened to the players, and the players said, we want Jamie Dixon to be our head coach. And sometimes athletic directors say, I'm not listening to the players, but the greater wisdom the young people had, because when they hired him, they took off and have been playing well since. K-Mac, interestingly enough, I'm going to take some old basketball fans back in the past to describe Pittsburgh, and that is right after that Charles Barkley and Chuck Person era at Auburn, Sonny Smith had it rolling. I think Auburn may have gone to the Sweet 16 2 years in a row, and they upset Dean Smith in one of those games, and Dean Smith described Auburn this way, and I'll describe Pittsburgh this way. Dean Smith accused Auburn of playing 5 linebackers on a basketball court. So that's the way Pittsburgh wants to play.
They are physical, no doubt about it. Noon tip, ACC Network, Clemson Pitt tomorrow. Recruiting coming up right around the corner. We got K-Mac, the Professor Tom Hayes, Graham Pope behind the glass. No Corn tonight. He is down at Myrtle Beach doing what he does, but recruiting has to carry on. I know that we are, 25 days away from National Signing Day?
Was it February what?
I think it's
second
the 4th.
week in February.
I think it's February 4th.
Okay.
But it's getting here, and it's going to be here soon. So we have to continue with recruiting, as we always do, even when it's hundreds of days away. We make sure we do recruiting. So here is tonight's recruiting report, beginning with defensive back Torrey Boyd, 6'1", 193 out of Chaffee Junior College in California. Looks like he is going to be a Gamecock commitment very soon. Really came out of nowhere. He said the opportunity to join the Gamecocks started with the phone call from Gamecock defensive backs coach Grady Brown earlier this week. Right now, his transcript is being vetted by USC admissions, and they want to see if it all checks out. And he said tonight he thinks that's going to be done by Monday, and it could be official then if USC accepts his transcript. He is a native of Birmingham, would have attended Hoover High School had he not moved to Rancho Cucamonga at the age of 14, and now he is looking forward to heading back home. He committed to Boise State out of high school, but the NCAA flagged his transcript for too many online courses, and that forced him to junior college. He'll have 3 years to play 2. He said he always loved the SEC, and that's why the opportunity to get back home, when I say home being the South, that was big for him. He played cornerback last season, but the Gamecocks like him as a safety. This year he had 80 tackles with 2 interceptions, 10 passes that he broke up, 2 forced fumbles, 2 recovered fumbles, 4 blocks. He also scored a touchdown. Junior defensive back James Valdez of Lake Marion will be one of the top prospects in the state's 2016 class, and he has set June 7th for his announcement day. His D-Day is the day after D-Day Pro. Little piece of history there. World War II history for you, Pope, on a Friday night. The more you know. The more you know. Valdez has his offers from USC, North Carolina State, Tennessee, Wake Forest, and South Carolina State. He's been hearing regularly from all those schools. He said USC wants him to commit now. They want him to commit early. They told him they had a bad season last year, and he can come in and be a big factor on the defensive side of the ball. But he doesn't know where he's going yet, but he said USC is definitely a possibility. He wants to visit schools that he has not been to before he makes that decision. That includes Florida, Georgia, NC State, Alabama, and Florida State. Moving on, defensive back Jeremiah Denson out of Florida. He's still considering a visit to USC, but the date has not been set. He plans to call his recruiter, Grady Brown, soon to firm that up. The two did talk earlier this week. Denson remains committed to Kentucky. He'll visit Florida January 16th and Auburn January 23rd. He's choosing between USC and Louisville for the final visit on January 30th. Denson said the Florida offer was important because it's an in-state school, and he was blindsided by the Auburn offer. Kentucky does remain his favorite. Will Muschamp really coming in and just going after guys that he was familiar with at Florida, and he is not holding back. Defensive back Maurice Smitherman of Adamsville, Alabama, will visit Texas Tech January 16th and USC January 30th. He's been a Mississippi State commit, but he's taking a look around. He talked to recruiter Grady Brown from USC, and Brown is planning to take an in-home visit with him once the contact period goes live next week. Smitherman says he's feeling more solid Bulldogs, but he wants to take those other 2 official visits. Offensive lineman Patrick Allen out of Maryland talked with USC recruiting coordinator Steve Spurrier Jr., and he's interested in taking an unofficial visit to USC, but he has not decided on a date. Right now, he's primarily looking at USC, Tennessee, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame. He's a former Georgia commitment. Notre Dame just got in touch with him last week, but has not offered. Allen has taken his 5 official visits to Georgia, Oklahoma, Michigan, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Right now, no favorite. Shrine Bowl wide receiver J.J. Arcega-Whiteside out of Dorman. He's a Stanford commit. He's still waiting to hear from the school about being accepted. If he's accepted, he said there's no doubt he's going to Stanford. He is hearing from USC, Georgia Tech, and Wake Forest. He talked to Steve Spurrier Jr. and Sean Elliott earlier this week and was told things don't work out at Stanford, they would be interested in talking with him more seriously. He'll make an official visit to Stanford January 16th. He hopes to find out then if he's going to be accepted. He has not scheduled any other official visits. And Junior Freeman out of Greensboro, North Carolina, said USC and Virginia Tech are his top 2 schools right now. That is tonight's recruiting report. If you missed anything or want to go back and see more, go to sportstalksc.com. All of these stories posted throughout the website. A lot of recruiting at sportstalksc.com, so that is a place to go if you want to keep up with what's happening between now and signing day and beyond. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Keep up with everything that we are keeping up with. A lot of people are really into who's going to win the Sports Talk Player of the Year award, and we don't determine it. You do at sportstalksc.com. Who are you going to vote for? There's a plethora of choices, but the 2 front runners now, it's going to be one of these 2. It's either going to be Pharoh Cooper or Vic Beasley. They are going back and forth, neck and neck, but Cooper has pulled the head by almost 100 votes now. You still have time to vote at sportstalksc.com and go down. You can only vote once, but you can make it count. Some other things to pass along as we get ready for the weekend. We know we've got the Panthers playing tomorrow night in Seattle against the defending Super Bowl champs. They played 3 times here recently. The Panthers have scored a total of 28 points in those games, but they've all been very close. In fact, the Panthers have had a 4th quarter lead in a couple of those games, including the game in Charlotte back in October that they let get away from them late. But can they go on the road and beat Seattle with the 12th man? I just am not seeing that. I'm not seeing that.
No,
a night game in Seattle.
And your passing game is suspect, except for the tight end, and they're going to take him away.
Yes, you can take away the one viable receiver. I mean, the fact that Panthers are playing in the NFC divisional playoff game is really one of the more remarkable things in sports this season. They had a losing record in the regular season. They won the division, though. They got a perfect matchup in their playoff game. Not only were they at home, they played an Arizona Cardinals team that's been decimated by injuries. They won that one, but they are not going to, in my opinion, be able to go to Charlotte, out of Charlotte into Seattle and play the Seahawks. Cam Newton, his development has been set back by not having any sort of receivers around him at all. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin's talented, but he's a rookie.
And no protection.
No protection on that line. They played better. Now, I give the Panthers credit, give Ron Rivera and the staff credit. They've gotten better as the season's progressed. Their defense especially has really turned it up a notch here over the past month and a half. But Cam Newton is not a prolific passer to begin with. He has his deficiencies, as Pope will point out repeatedly, but they exasperated those deficiencies by having receivers that aren't catching the few passes. When Cam does put one on the numbers, you got to catch it.
Yeah,
they don't have guys that are pulling those in now.
Well, see, I see Seattle. The game will be close for a while, but it's going to be like a heavyweight fight. What I mean by that is the Panthers defense is going to be on the field a lot, because I feel there's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs by the Panthers, and then by the middle of the third quarter, they're going to wear out, and Seattle is going to take it home from there.
Don't go away. We've got Don Staley, coach of the top-ranked USC women's basketball team, coming up in hour number 2. We'll talk some hoops with Lee Klein in the next hour as well. Sports Talk continues.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Hour number 2, Sports Talk here on a Friday, final hour of the week, and we will make it a good one, finishing strong. Dawn Staley will join us in our next segment. Also, we'll talk some basketball with our good friend Lee Klein coming up at the bottom of the hour. If you missed it, the recruiting note of note tonight appears an impending commitment for the Gamecocks from defensive back to Tory Boyd, I should say. In fact, I would say it would be in addition to their class. It sounds like he's already committed. It just will become official when he gets admitted into school. He's going through the admissions process now. He hopes that'll be done Monday, and then he will become a Gamecock. He's a defensive back out of a junior college in California. He's going to play safety for the Gamecocks if he gets into school. 80 tackles, 2 interceptions, 10 breakups, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries last season for the Gamecocks.
His size, he looks like a safety. Was 6 feet 193 or something?
6'1", 193. Okay. So
yeah, safe.
That's big recruiting news. Hoops tomorrow, of course, Clemson at Pitt. We heard from Brad Brownell, Frank Martin, and USC in Oxford, Mississippi to take on the Ole Miss Rebels, who have been kind of an enigma this season. They went and lost at home to Charleston Southern early in the season, and they went to Rupp Arena this week and took top-ranked and undefeated Kentucky to overtime with some opportunities to win that game and did not. They were chucking up some really bad shots down the stretch of that one, but which Ole Miss team will be at the Tad Pad tomorrow, Pro?
It'll be interesting. I think really defensively, South Carolina has a chance maybe to win this basketball game because they do a lot of freelancing. It's almost like the guards have the green light and the inside guys are responsible for picking up the crumbs from the table, meaning offensive rebounding. Now, there's the key to South Carolina because they did not do a good job with the spacing that Florida did, and they were killed, I know, overall on the boards, but on offensive board, I think Florida had an ungodly number of like 14 offensive rebounds. And an offensive rebound usually means a putback. So it'll be interesting to see how they play as far as the interior is concerned tomorrow, because I think rebounding is going to be key in this basketball game.
A few other games tomorrow. Newberry will put his 12-1 record on the line against Mars Hill. Furman plays VMI. Wofford at home against Sanford, and the T-Dogs picked up a nice win last night over VMI. The Citadel is at Mercer. College of Charleston still looking for their first CAA win of the season. They lost to the Pride of Hofstra last night, and they will play host to Delaware tomorrow. Winthrop is at Gardner-Webb. Coastal Carolina doing very well in the Big South. By very well, I mean undefeated in the Big South. They travel to Liberty. PC is at Radford, and Charleston Southern has a home game against Longwood.
And see, Hofstra blew my lead this morning when I was doing the morning sports because they changed their nickname. It would have been great to say the Flying Dutchman arrived in the port city, but they changed it to the Pride.
They're the
Come
Pride,
on, people.
Yeah, that's the world we live in now, Pro. Dawn Staley coming up. back to your phone calls momentarily, but want to welcome in our next guest here on Sports Talk, Dawn Staley. She's only leading one of the hottest teams in all of basketball. The Gamecocks ranked number 1, still undefeated, and getting ready for a top 10 matchup Sunday at Colonial Life Arena, 1 o'clock tip against Kentucky. And they are encouraging fans to arrive early, parking free in the surface lots. They had, I think, 16,000 plus for their SEC opener on Friday night, and traffic is an issue to go see Dawn Staley's Gamecocks play. And that's a good problem to have, Coach.
That's actually a great problem to have. And, obviously Gamecock Nation has really has fallen in love with our team, and they're coming in, in record numbers. And it's a beautiful thing because it's creating an atmosphere that our players will remember for a lifetime.
Well, you guys play an exciting brand of basketball. You are fun to watch. You're shooting over 50% from the floor, knocking down almost 37% from three. You always have been known for stingy defense, but now you are really scoring the ball. 102 points against Alabama last night.
I mean, I thought we executed extremely well. I thought we, finally got a chance to put that ball in the paint to our post players. Our outside shooters were hitting on all cylinders, and you almost want them to say some of that for some of the other games in the rest of the season. But we've had times in which we didn't shoot the ball well, so we'll take what we can get when we can get it.
Coach, the interesting thing about your basketball team, or the I guess the building of this team, South Carolina for so many years under your coaching has been the team looking for respect. We're hungry, we're desperate, we're going to scratch and claw, we're going to play. Suddenly you're sitting there at number 1, and it seems early in the Alabama game and the LSU game and Auburn game, people are coming with their best shot at you. You are now considered the hunted, not the hunter. Have your players adjusted to the fact that everybody wants to knock them off the block?
Well, I think our team is full of great leadership and players who have been there. They've been on the other side of hunting, and they know what that feels like. And now that we are the hunted, they're in protect mode. We want to protect what we've built, and obviously we were in that seat before where we were trying to knock down all the top teams, the upper echelon teams in the country, and now the shoe is on the other foot. And I think we're doing a tremendous job of staying in the moment and staying focused and not getting ahead of ourselves. We respect every single opponent that we face. And partly because we know our shortcomings. We know that, there are things that we don't do extremely well, and, we try to hide them and highlight the things that we do well. And there are a lot of things that we do well. And I don't want to shortchange our team, but at the same time, we work with them every day, and we want to make sure we stay balanced in our approach to the game.
Obviously your team likes to run, and it seems early on that teams are, even though they're reluctant, some teams like to run with you. Others are employing saying they're going to pick their poison. If they're going to pick their poison, they'd rather have you bomb away from 3-point range and packing that zone in. Has it been difficult for your team to handle zone defenses, or are you able to play at any pace, man-to-man or zone?
Well, the good thing about, our team, a lot of teams have played us for years in the zone, maybe because of our athleticism and our ability to get to the basket. But now it's for another reason, is, our bigs. We have, 5, 6'4" taller players on our roster, and they're very efficient, down there in the paint. So if I'm other teams, I probably would pack it in on us and force us to shoot it from the outside, because percentage-wise, overall, we don't shoot a very high percentage when you take, certain players away, like a Tiffany Mitchell who shoots 50% outside the three. Everybody else, they're respectable, but in basketball, we like to play the percentages. But excuse me, we've gotten, really good at recognizing where we still can be effective when people pack it in on us, in zone defenses.
Talking with Don Staley, the top-ranked USC women face Kentucky Sunday, 1 o'clock at Colonial Life Arena. They will have an almost packed house, if not packed house, also on ESPN2. And I know, Coach, sounds like you're fighting off a lot of the funk that a lot of people are fighting off right now with that stuff running around. You know, Kentucky, this is your second top 10 matchup. You guys went up, beat Duke, and really one of the best basketball games I've watched, any basketball game, women's, men. That was just an unbelievable game you had up at Cameron Indoor. Talk about this Kentucky team. What do they do well? What are the challenges you guys are going to face Sunday?
Well, Kentucky, you know, we're chopping at the bit because we know Kentucky is a team that notoriously plays, you know, full court, man-to-man pressing type of basketball game where they want to speed you up. They want you to play extremely fast. You know, they shoot, you know, quickly. They take unexpected shots. They rebound the ball extremely well. They pressure the ball. So for us, you know, we're looking forward to you know, playing against man-to-man defense is something that we haven't seen a whole lot this year, and hopefully we can do what we've done, which is go to our strength, which is inside the paint. Our advantage is in the paint and controlling tempo. We got to make sure that, you know, we're not playing too fast to where, you know, Kentucky's playing at a speed where they could be effective on both sides of the ball.
Coach, it seems to me when you have a good all-around player that does so many things well, it's hard to decide where their best position is. We've seen Asia Wilson now seem to gravitate from being a freshman to a big contributor for you. And I'm not so certain where she's best. Out on the high post, inside with her back to the basket. It's nothing she doesn't do that she doesn't do well. In her maturation process, where do you see her ultimately, her best position?
Her best position is on the floor. So, you know, for her, you know, that's the beauty of, you know, having someone as versatile as Asia Wilson. You can play her all over the place. You have to respect what she brings to the table, which is she's got an incredible ability to catch and shoot it at the high post, and she's good in traffic when you're collapsing in the zone. She's got great hands, and, you know, she's got an incredible ability to score the basketball. There's a certain, you know, and if she's not this, there's a certain greediness about being a scorer. You want to score. So you're going to go after each ball. You're going to try to catch each ball in your, you know, in your area. And she does that extremely well for us. And when you have someone like that, I mean, she's hard to guard, you know, so you got to pay attention to her either, you know, with her own player plus 1.5 players. So it depends on who you want to lay off of. You want to lay off one of our perimeter players, or you want to, you know, lay off one of our other post players. So she makes it really easy for our offense to run a little bit more fluidly because, you know, she has so much attention drawn to her, you know, that somebody is open at all times.
Coach, we appreciate it. We'll let you save the rest of your voice for Sunday. We know you'll need it then. Feel better, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Dawn Staley, she's got the top-ranked team in women's basketball right now, undefeated. They'll have a test at home against Kentucky. By the way, Dawn Staley is also a great follow on Twitter. She is a very prolific tweeter, so I highly encourage those of you that enjoy good tweeters to follow Dawn Staley. And if you want to go to the game, again, they are encouraging fans to get there. You know, give yourself some time. It's a 1 o'clock tip. Parking is free in the surf plots around Colonial Life Arena. And remember, a couple of those streets are closed. Divine Street between Park and Lincoln Streets is closed, so plan your route accordingly. There could be some traffic, but you'll be rewarded with great basketball. And, you know, people make the jokes about women's basketball. I can tell you, when it's played at a high level, any level of basketball is entertaining to watch. And Dawn Staley has something there that people have enjoyed. Everybody loves a winner. She has a winner, and they're showing up in droves at the CLA. Taking a look at some of the other headlines, national headlines here. We mentioned that the ACC has cut ties with controversial referee Carl Hess. He's shown the door after a little interaction with a fan that involved some derogatory words from Mr. Hess during a game last week. Texas A&M quarterback Kenny Hill, a.k.a. Kenny Trill, is transferring out of Texas A&M. Oh, boy, for one game in Columbia, South Carolina. He was a Heisman Trophy candidate. The Trill is gone.
Mm-hmm. He
in
had
more
2
ways
or 3
than one.
good games, but it didn't last.
No, it did not last. He was on the bench by the end of the year, and now he is transferring. All sorts of rumors flying out there. I saw his dad just tweeted that the reports that he's going to end up at TCU is not true, but we will see how all that shakes out. The Boz is going into the College Football Hall of Fame. Brian Bosworth. I just watched the 30 for 30 on him last week. I started actually watching that when I was in Orlando. It was on before the bowl game, and I thought that was appropriate, but I didn't make it to the end, and I downloaded the rest of it and watched it last week, and that was a very good 30 for 30. So he's going in. Not too surprising. He deserves it. He was
he was tremendous.
A great college football player, no doubt about it. One of the all-time great linebackers in college football. Jim Tressel also going in.
The what do you call it? The vest.
The vest.
Sweater vest.
That one's a little more surprising to me. But, you know, he did it Youngstown and Ohio State. But, you know, I guess if you leave college football in disgrace, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's appropriate that those two guys are going in together because neither one of them had their careers end on such a high note.
No, it is interesting. We were talking about the quarterback guru George Whitfield Jr. Jim Tressel recruited him to Youngstown State, but he transferred out of Youngstown State. But about the Boz, the interesting thing is the two guys who got it as far as marketing is concerned at the college level was the Boz and Deion Sanders. They knew it. I didn't find out till I got older, and I watched what marketing is like as far as an individual is concerned, watching Howard Cosell, because the good guys usually, if they're great at marketing themselves, there's no middle ground. You either hate them or love them. And that's what the Boz and Deion were about. Either people hated you or they loved you, but they watched you. And the Boz and Deion Sanders do that better than any two college players I've seen.
Yeah, and they were ahead of it. And a lot of guys do that now, and they have a lot of different ways to do it, even in college where guys are marketing themselves, and even in high school now where guys are marketing themselves with the various social media platforms. These guys did it before there were social media platforms. In the case of the Boz, the television rights were a lot different back then too. Exactly. And in fact, Oklahoma, because of the Boz, they were one of the ones that sued the NCAA. School said, hey, we want to negotiate these contracts with the networks ourselves. And that's why you have an SEC network now. That's why you have a Longhorn network and these huge television contracts for the ACC and Big Ten and Pac-12, et cetera, et cetera. Brian Bosworth, that era and what he did at Oklahoma, a big reason why. We'll take a couple of quick phone calls. We have Lee Klein joining us as well after the bottom of the hour break. Talk some more college basketball. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. A couple of open lines. A few people dropped off. You got to be patient. Got to pay the price. We'll get to you. So jump out and grab a line if you want one. You can drop us an email. If you're very impatient and just want to get your point done quickly, go to our email address, talkback@sportstalksc.com. Follow us on Twitter @SportsTalkSC and find all of our content, news, notes, and more at SportsTalkSC.com. Our website. Back to the guest line we go. Lee Klein, former assistant coach at Texas and Rhode Island, now covering college hoops for Slam. He also owns the 5-star basketball camps. That's the camp of Jordan, LeBron, and Durant. Maybe you've heard of those three, Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have. Lee, hope you're doing well, man.
Oh, it's great to be back, and it's great that we're in conference play, and the college basketball season is and wow, we're getting our finger on the pulse on who the teams are that get a chance to cut down the nets, come this April, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, in the South especially, in this part of the world, college basketball season doesn't really start until January because football is just king in the early part of the season and through the bowl games. But now people can really get their attention on college basketball. And I got to say, even in this part of the world, the Midlands of South Carolina, where we're broadcasting tonight, of course, we're statewide, but where our studios are, a lot of people are paying attention to basketball again because Frank Martin has his Gamecock team playing pretty well.
Yeah, he absolutely does. I mean, it's now third year, and he's got his guys in there, and he's starting, everyone's starting to understand what the expectation is. And for South Carolina, for Frank Martin, you better defend. And they've been a very good team defensively. They've brought each.
Nope. Did we lose Lee? Okay, we lost Lee, so we'll see if we can dial him back up as he was talking about Frank Martin and the USC basketball team, who, of course, had won 7 straight until they lost against Florida. And I was going to ask about Florida, too, because that's a team that is very interesting to me and seeing how they can bounce back. And I was reading today that Frazier, who had a nice game against the Gamecocks, 17 points on Wednesday night. He's got an upper respiratory infection that he's dealing with right now and trying to bounce back. So we'll dial Lee back up here. In fact, I think we have him back on the line now. All right, Lee, welcome back. Sorry we lost you there for a moment, but you were talking about the USC basketball team and their identity, which is common with Frank Martin, their defense.
Absolutely. And they're top 10 in the country in defensive efficiency, letting up less than 89 points in 100 trips when you factor it in. So that's very impressive. They had won 7 in a row before losing a heartbreaker at home to Florida in the SEC slate. And this is a team with great young players to be excited about. Sophomores, Notice and Thornwell, really showing some signs. Point guard Marcus Stroman's played well. Tyrone Johnson, the senior. They just need a little bit more scoring, a little more confidence there in order to, especially from the 3-point line, they've struggled. They're, 31%. But that's going to happen. You can only emphasize so much. Florida happened to have a really good shooting day against South Carolina. So they got a tough trip coming up here. They're at Ole Miss. We saw what Ole Miss can do. They played Kentucky to the wire in overtime. And they've got they're 0-1. So everything great South Carolina did in the non-conference, fantastic, but that's behind them. It's conference play. You lost your first one. Now you got to go down to Oxford, and you got to find a way to win. So that's the next priority this weekend.
Well, you mentioned conference play, and you talk about football in these parts. Well, the ACC didn't do quote unquote a football school any favor with Clemson. And when you start the season off with North Carolina, have to go to Louisville, and then they arrive back from a plane, I guess, on Thursday morning at 1:00, go to class, and now they got a noon tip against Pittsburgh, and of course and then after that they go to Charlottesville, Virginia. This ACC as it's now comprised, this is a tremendous gauntlet, and everybody's going to eat everybody alive each game. How many teams you think this ACC conference can conceivably get in the tournament?
Well, I mean, I think there's 6 elite teams in the conference, 3 in the top 10, but 6 bona fide top 20 teams. You know, when you include actually Duke, Virginia, and Louisville are 3 great teams. Duke, to me, I think is right there, best offense in the country. And then you got, Notre Dame's played fantastic. You've seen North Carolina kind of been a little heckle-jekyll, a little up and down, and Syracuse, while they're adjusting to some key losses, they're not going to go away. So now it's everybody else. After that 6, it's everyone else, and it's a war every night. For Clemson, here's a team, quite honestly, they're struggling offensively. The conference is tough to great defensive teams. Clemson's been known for defense, isn't quite there yet, playing their standard of defense. And offensively, they're shooting 28% from 3, under 50% from 2. And it's, part of that is, replacing the great player. You take KJ McDaniels, he's in the NBA, and Jerron Blossom game, you're our star. You're the alpha dog. You got to get it done for us night in, night out. And so that's been a little bit of the transition. Conference is tough. But Clemson, because of the way they defend, because of, what they are, Coach Brownell, guys understand what their role is. And they're going to be just fine. Rod Hall's got to play better. I think he's a little bit of a difference maker. He just got to start to get into a groove, and they got to find a way to win a game and to get some confidence. And so they're playing at Pitt, at Virginia. You don't want to start off this slow and 4, so you got to get one of these 2.
Talking with Lee Klein, former assistant coach at Texas and Rhode Island, and now covering college basketball for Slam. And Kentucky, boy, they got a scare at home, no less, against an Ole Miss team that lost at home earlier this year to Charleston Southern. What do you make of this Wildcat team? I mean, we all know they're good. Are they good enough to run the table, or was that a sign that maybe there's some weaknesses there that are being exposed now in the conference play?
Well, here's the thing. Kentucky offensively is flawed, okay? They don't have a go-to guy. In the clutch, in a close game, they don't have a go-to guy, and they really don't have guys, if you will, with a go-to move. They're a team that is incredibly deep, that has so many versatile bigs that they could just play fetch on the backboard, and they got 3 guys that could, through 3, if you will, somewhat dependable 3-point shooters with Aaron Harrison, Tyler Ulis, and Devin Booker. So when they put up one of the behemoths in the high, for the high screen, Andrew Harrison is going to try to slash to the basket. They got 3 guys that if you don't fire out on them are going to hit the 3. And as you're having all this pressure to defend the perimeter, they're posting their 7-footers up to fetch it off the glass. That's what makes them so tough offensively. But here's the thing. When you're undefeated, it's like playing 2 opponents. You're playing not just who you have that night, but you're playing against all this pressure. And that's what I think will do them in when we talk about the regular season and conference play, because it's hard. They're still young, they're still kids, and it's hard to be consistent every night. It's a lot of stress and pressure. I think they'll lose 2 games in the SEC slate, and they'll end up, with 2 losses going into the NCAA tournament. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think you could learn through losses. You can learn things that attention to certain details shine brighter through a loss than sometimes when you get by and win.
Lee, great talking to you as always. We'll talk to you a lot throughout basketball season. Lee Klein joining us here on Sports Talk. Again, check out his stuff with Slam, covering college hoops. He also runs the 5-star basketball camps. That's the big one, the one of Jordan, LeBron, and Durant. And we will talk to Lee again soon here on Sports Talk as we get into full-fledged college basketball mode. We're going to hit a timeout. More to come on Sports Talk on the other side. We didn't get to hear from Frank Martin to preview the Ole Miss game because, for whatever reason, Frank Martin does one media avail every week to preview every game, and that is on Monday. And then he's supposed to talk about the next game after the midweek game. It's a really convoluted setup they have, and I don't understand it fully. But that's why we don't have Frank Martin, fresh Frank Martin. So I do want to spend, in lieu of that, I want to spend a couple of minutes to talk about this matchup for the Gamecocks out at the Tad Smith Coliseum in Oxford tomorrow. And the Gamecocks 0-1 in SEC play. Ole Miss 0-1. The Gamecocks losing at home to Florida. Ole Miss losing on the road against top-ranked Kentucky. And these two teams played two great games last year. They lost, the Gamecocks did, at Oxford, blew a big lead in that one. They had a double-digit lead in the second half, let it get away from them. They beat Ole Miss at home, and Sindarius Thornwell was a big reason why. He had two big games against Ole Miss. So how do the Gamecocks respond, Pro, after a tough loss against Florida?
Well, knowing Frank Martin, he said he's chemo. Let's see how it worked. This really is technically a good matchup for South Carolina from a guard standpoint, because defensively South Carolina plays pretty good defense out front. That keys their defense, especially with Notice playing the other team's point guard. He's been stifling point guards throughout the season. But from a standpoint of rebounding, it's not a good matchup because in Ole Miss's view of offense, their best offensive play is the offensive rebound, because all they want their guards to do is they give them freedom to play one-on-one. They put the shot up, and then the bigs get involved by offensive rebounding. So the key to this game, K-Mac, if they play their normal defense they played so far this season, but rebound better, they got a chance. If they don't rebound tomorrow, they have no chance.
Yeah, and that was very surprising how bad they were on the boards against Florida, and they just got killed inside, especially in the second half, getting those rebounds. The second chance points for Florida were huge in that win. But, you know, I said this last night, as poorly as South Carolina played in that game, and they had probably their worst 11 minutes that they've had in 6 or 7 weeks, they still cut it to 2 with 6 seconds left. They still made Florida make some free throws and make some plays down the stretch to win that game. So that has to be encouraging if you're Frank Martin. They at least fought back in it, did lay down, made Florida work for it, but it was a game that they needed to get, especially at home. Now, they haven't had a lot of success playing at Ole Miss. They've only won once there in 12 tries. It's been a while since they won February 2nd, 2000. Their only win in Oxford at the Tad Pad.
And I will say this, and, you know, if Frank Martin's listening, which he probably isn't, he would probably tell you if you backed him in a corner, if he knew early on his team was going to show a lack of toughness, he may have put Carrera in the game earlier. Because if anybody sets a tone for scrappiness underneath the bucket, it's him. And they didn't show that. When I saw and I said last night, when I saw Demetrius Henry did not have a foul, I said, well, he's not playing aggressively. He needs some fouls in the first half, because that tells me he's hitting the boards. And so it'll be key to see, interestingly enough, tomorrow, not only if they rebound better, but if they don't start off rebounding better, does he insert Carrera early in the ballgame?
Yeah, Carrera had a couple bad moments in there. Wednesday night, he came in and then missed a guy on a rebound, didn't box out. Guy got an easy putback, and Martin took him right back out. I mean, he'd been in maybe 30 seconds when he got yanked out of there. He wasn't happy about it. But Martin does not play around. You make a mistake, he gets you out of there in a hurry, and the guys know it too. They usually just walk back over to the bench. So, you know, you mentioned Henry didn't have any fouls. The problem was Sindarius Thornwell did. He picked up 2 quick ones in the first half that cost him a lot of time on the pine. And then in the second half, he picked up 3 and 4 pretty quick and missed a lot of time in the second half. And then he fouled out in the final minute when the Gamecocks were trying to make a push. And certainly that deterred any major opportunities. In fact, he picked up that 5th when the Gamecocks failed to secure a rebound. He got a loose ball foul trying to get that rebound, and that was that for him. And the Gamecocks now will try to bounce back against the Ole Miss Rebels tomorrow. That is a 5 o'clock tip on FSN ESPN 3.
And I guess that means a 6 o'clock tip here. Is that Central
Well, it
time?
says Eastern on the release. I was under the impression it was 6 o'clock. So I think it's 5 o'clock Central and 6 Eastern. But this release that I'm holding from USC says 5 o'clock Eastern. I'm not sure that I trust that, though, because I thought I saw 6. But 5 or 6, just sit around for an hour. You'll either get there early or get there late. Roll the dice. We're here to inform. If you missed it, recapping, Dabo Swinney announced today a 4-year contract extension for defensive coordinator Brent Venables. There were some rumblings out of New Orleans that LSU was going to make a run at him potentially to replace John Chavis, the chief, on the defensive coordinator staff for LSU. So that is not going to happen with the 4-year contract. In fact, all of the Clemson assistant coaches picked up contract extensions.
And they announced that today?
They announced it today.
When is the coaching convention?
The coaching convention's coming up this weekend.
That's why they did.
I mean, there were rumblings.
You got to take care of it before they go to that convention.
Times-Picayune out of New Orleans, they were reporting that Shoop and Venables were definitely on the radar for LSU. So, Venables deserves it. You ATM a school when you have the #1 rated defense. People are going to come after you. Get that money, because we all know you're only one bad season away as a defense from being right out of there. Defensive coordinators do not have a long lifespan, it appears these days with college football or any level of football. It's hard to play defense. I mean, they're calling everything. Pass interference gets called a lot. You can't make any contact. They're calling the targeting penalties now. It's just, you've got to be perfect on defense. If you hit a quarterback just a little bit late, they're going to call it. You're going down low, you get in trouble. It's just hard. And I'm not saying I disagree with some of the rules in place. It just, those things have made it advantageous for the offenses to score a lot more points. Let's quickly go through the NFL games coming up this weekend. We've got 2 tomorrow. The early game, Patriots at home against the Ravens. Who do you got?
I still like the home team. I know the Ravens are 3-1 in playoff games at Foxborough, but I think the Patriots' turn this time.
Pope, do you want to get in on this? Patriots,
Yeah.
Ravens.
I'm going to go that's a 50-50 one, but I'll go give me Ravens.
All right, I'm going with the Patriots at home. So we'll see how that one turns out. Panthers, Seahawks in Seattle, Pro.
It's going to be Seattle. I think their running game and defense is too tough.
Good game, bet Seattle. Agreed.
I'm going with Seattle as well. I know those have been close, but I'm taking the Seahawks. All right, Cowboys and the Packers, Pro.
Boy, Aaron Rodgers, both quarterbacks are a little beat up. I'm going to take the Packers. I think it's going to be a scoring game, and I don't think that Dallas will be able to keep up.
Injured Aaron Rodgers doesn't matter. Give me the Packers.
I'm taking Tony Romo. I'll be the center.
Okay.
And the the Broncos and Colts in the late game Sunday, Pro.
I'm going to pick this as the one upset. I would say the Colts are going to steal it.
Yeah, I'm with Pro. The Broncos have had instances all year where they've looked funny. So
By the way,
it's going to happen.
Quickly, Darren Carrington, Oregon wide receiver, failed his mandatory drug test and will not make the trip to the championship game for the Ducks.
Not good. We'll be back Monday, same time, same place here on Sports Talk. Go out and have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you here.